in the communities that they are in. And this is exactly what my next guest is doing. He is running for City Council's position number 3 for Johns Creek. It is in Fulton County, Georgia. It is a suburb there in Atlanta. And I want to welcome everybody and give a quick warm introduction to Mr. Shafiq Jadhavji. Shafiq, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sean, for allowing me to be part of your show this evening.
Yes.
Looking forward to our conversation and, more importantly, making it meaningful for our audience.
Yes, absolutely. You're doing something that is absolutely incredible, and that is getting involved in the community. It's something that we all need to do. I believe after 9/11, this whole event that happened, it was terrible for the United States. But one thing that was a result of that was, we were asked as a community to not speak to the media. We got less and less involved in policy and politics and in our communities in general. We kind of all just put our heads down and started working really hard in school, focusing on our grades and our careers and our businesses, hoping that this would just blow over. And 20 years later, we're in a position where we are not involved in local politics. We're not involved in policy. And we're still trying to figure out how to better serve our communities, but be more civically engaged and involved. And so what you are doing, Shafiq, is absolutely incredible. It's awe-inspiring. And I want everybody to kind of take away at the end of this interview a roadmap of how they can start getting more involved with their communities as well.
No, absolutely. I think it's fantastic time in history for us. And what I mean by that is I think there's more need for us to get engaged, particularly at a local level. And that's what I've been doing over the last 10 years as a resident in Johns Creek. And I felt like, hey, this is a time for me to get a seat at the table because I've been aware of all the activities in Johns Creek, serving in a variety of roles as board member in many organizations, nonprofits, been involved in the arts area, been involved in recreation, public safety. So I felt, hey, this is a time for me to step up and do what needs to be done.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Maybe we can start by talking a little bit about the community. Before you were in Johns Creek, you were in New York for a little while, in Pakistan before that. What got you involved so deeply in caring about this community, about in Johns Creek specifically?
So that's a very good question. So let me give you some background on Johns Creek. So Johns Creek is part of Fulton County, as you mentioned, in Metro Atlanta area. Has a population size of about 83,000. Johns Creek is known for its schools, public schools. So number 1, number 3, number 5 public high school in the state of Georgia is in Johns Creek. Johns Creek is also known for its safety and security. It's one of the safest city. Just in July, Johns Creek was named as one of the number 1 city in the country to live based on the population size. So when I moved here in 2011, I got to learn about Johns Creek. And the way I got to learn about it was I got involved in Leadership Johns Creek, which is a program that most cities have where you have an opportunity to, be civically engaged, but more importantly, learn how your city works, right? How you get involved, how you operate in a city. So that gave me an opportunity to understand the profile. And what I was really intrigued by was the diversity of Johns Creek. So today, Johns Creek is the most diverse city in the state of Georgia, with about 32% Asians. We have 9% African Americans, Hispanics. So I just wanted to engage our diverse community. And I started first getting involved in the arts area. I've never been an artist, and I put that disclaimer out there. But I sat on the Johns Creek Art Center. Then I got involved in the Recs and Parks. I started to talk to the city about bringing the sport of cricket to Johns Creek because of the South Asian community that we have in Johns Creek. So one thing led to another. And as I got more involved, people started to notice that, and they said, hey, why don't you come and sit on this board and that board, which really was very welcoming to me because that meant that they trusted me with my leadership style. They trusted me to be an engaged member. And over the last 10 years, I've been blessed to be involved and not only celebrating the diversity, but also involved in areas such as, Public Safety Foundation as a board member, dealing with the police department, fire department, to learn how, I'm also a graduate of the Citizens Police Academy. So, sometimes I felt that you have to get your hands involved to really make an impact. So it's an evolutionary kind of journey for me over the last 10 years. But the most key element driving my passion in this involvement was the reason to make an impact. I
Right.
felt I had enough support from the residents and the leaders to continue to go down this path. And even right now, as you know, November 4th is around the corner. Early voting started last week in Johns Creek, and I have probably 16 days to do what I need to do to be elected. So it was an evolutionary kind of process.
Yeah, and we'll talk a bit more about the campaign specifically, but let's stay on the topic of service and fulfillment.
Mhm,
One of the things that we do as a community really well is we give of our time. It's our
mhm,
time, our knowledge, and when we can, where we can, our financial resources as well. One of the philosophies that we've kind of learned to adopt is those who serve their communities, those who volunteer, those who give of their time and their knowledge, those are the ones that feel more fulfilled. Life just feels more fulfilling when you have a purpose in serving other people. Let's talk about that volunteerism, and then we can talk about how people can start getting a little bit more involved in your campaign.
Yeah, so I think, I have always believed that happiness in life is a inner process, meaning it's within oneself. Um, I've been involved in a variety of activities over the years, where I have dedicated my time to improve the quality of life for others.
Mm.
And those have been my best so-called happier days personally.
Yeah,
Yes, long hours, you work, all of us work, we have our family activities, but then, the sense of gratification that you get when you help others, there is no substitute for that.
right.
And I have been blessed to have that passion and that desire to go the extra mile to make a difference in other people's lives. So whatever I do, I am selfish. The selfishness in me is I want to be happy, inner
Yes.
happiness, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get that inner happiness, I want to be able to make an impact and help other become happier in life. I think all of us want to have a fulfilling life, a happy life, a good quality of life, looking after our own family, friends, and our neighbors, and all that. So that has been my driving force behind this. To how do I create that impact that in return makes me happy to keep my passion alive.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in order to improve your quality of life, if you focus on improving others' quality of life, your quality of life is almost taken care of just
It,
by
it is.
doing the work.
Yeah, it is. It's a byproduct, right? And it's a good byproduct. And I think um, you don't realize that until you actually do the work,
Yes.
where you feel the sense of satisfaction when you see improvement in people's lives and youth lives and other areas of life that we all cherish. So I do believe that kind of ripple effect comes back to us as individuals when we put in the time and effort.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one thing that I find really interesting about your campaign as well is it's right down the middle. You're not choosing Democrat, Republican so much as you're just being a moderate and being involved in the community. I think one thing that we're seeing with young people, especially, is the idea of sticking so deeply to one side.
Mhm.
You miss hearing a balanced view of what is happening in your actual communities, regardless of what community you're serving. There's going to be Republicans, there's going to be Democrats, there's going to be independents, people who are part of the Green Party, so on and so forth, libertarians. And you think about the diaspora, and you think about that we are not a monolith. No community is a monolith, and so to be able to take voices and to actually come in and work with different administrations under different political structures, to be able to give of your time and your knowledge in those dynamics, that is the important part. To be able to impact community, the lives of Americans, or the lives of people in whatever state, country, or city that you're living in at the moment. It's important that regardless of what happens in politics, there are things that are being done, decisions that are being made in your city that you can absolutely be involved with, and it has nothing to do with left, right, or center.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a very good point, and I think I hope and pray that all of us are open-minded. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is, um, leaders want to make an impact,
Hmm.
and leaders don't just come from one household or one party, right? Leaders, there are born leaders, meaning having some innate ability, and there are those who learn through life, right?
Yes.
And I've always believed that God has given us 2 years and 1 month, right? There's a reason for that, right? I think we should be open-minded to listen
Mhm.
and be able to articulate ourselves. It's okay to have differences. I think if all of us were the same, life would be boring. We would not have constructive conversations and meaningful impact and meaningful progress in life. So it's not necessary. I don't. I'm a nonpartisan in this particular election, as you know,
Mhm.
because I do not necessarily say I'm aligned with Democrats or I'm aligned with Republicans. What I'm aligned with is the leaders and the policy making decision process. Because
Absolutely.
I do believe that good leaders make good decisions. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect. You are not perfect. We'll stumble, right?
Yes.
But if we surround ourselves with people who are willing to have constructive conversation on issues of importance, then sooner or later we'll come together and make decisions collectively that are good for our constituents. Now, whether it's a local constituents, whether it's our faith-based community or our family, but I think particularly at the local level, it becomes extremely important
Yeah.
because I know we all care about national politics and we care about global politics and all that, but I always believe that the real impact is made at the local level.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important for us to get engaged locally.
Absolutely. And I think this is something that needs to be driven home for young people who, are so passionate about what's happening in Gaza right now, with other governments that are either doing the right things, the wrong things, corrupt, not corrupt, having access to healthcare, to basic rights, for all of these different issues and topics, to be able to think globally, but you must act locally. All politics are local politics, and I think that young people, especially young people, but I think all people are very confused by this notion. Is well, if something is inhumane that's happening across around the world, why should I not just focus on trying to impact the thing that's happening in, in Israel or Gaza or Pakistan or whatever it might be? Uh, why would I start working on these issues, or how could I even start working on these issues at a local level? And I think that if we can kind of talk about that for the next few minutes, is it's going to be extremely important for our young audience to really understand why it's so important and how local politics will always trickle up to international issues.
Yeah, I think, my humble request to not just only the young people, and I am a father of two girls and proud father of two girls, and I admire their passions in life. Um, my humble request to anyone that wants to make an impact, right? First of all, you have to have a purpose of your engagement. If we just get involved from a transactional perspective, what I mean by that is, hey, I want to get involved so I can get this in return,
Right.
then it's really a short-term kind of a thing, right? Locally getting involved becomes very meaningful, impactful, because first of all, you have the pulse of what's going on, right? It's a better pulse than getting involved or just talking about broader topics that you don't really understand the local elements of it, right? So the local elements are things that one can understand, one can latch on to, and one can align their passion, their desire to a purpose, right? So again, I'm not an artist, but I have sat on the Johns Creek Art Center board for 7 years. I sit on the Johns Creek Symphony board. The reason why I sit on those boards and all that is because ultimately, who is it benefiting? The local people, right?
Right.
The youth who are musicians. So I think what we need to think about is, as the saying goes, charity starts at home.
Yes.
All right. Home is your home, your community, your local municipality, your city. If you can start to get involved there first, I promise you, it will set the ground level understanding of how impact can be made.
Exactly.
Because, local politics are no different than, state politics or national politics or international politics.
Yes.
It's still politics,
Right.
meaning people coming together with different views and opinions and all that. So I think it becomes it sets a foundation for us to really build upon.
Yes, completely. And that's the whole idea is once we start understanding how decisions are made, who sits around those tables, how politics, how policies impact the decisions that are being made. That understanding, that basic understanding, will help you understand what the nuances of the challenges that are happening around the world. And so, whether it is, just pick a lane, right? So if it's food insecurity, if some, or if it's crime, as you had mentioned, if it's public education, whatever the thing is, clean water, if it's getting access to your community, and that access is linked to policies or funding, how those decisions are made, how cities make investment decisions,
Mhm.
zoning laws, new businesses that are going to be coming in, how that creates more safety or less safety for the community, how diversity is seen in the community. I'm sure these are topics as well that you learned, holding these positions in the arts, how the diversity of art, enriches the culture of your local community, is extremely important to kind of take into consideration and be able to expose your community to these different types of arts as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I mentioned, I've been blessed to be involved in arts, blessed to be part of the recreation. As I sit on the Recs and Parks Advisory Board for 7 years, more recently as a chair. So I think one thing we also have to understand is there is every city, as I said, Johns Creek is number one right now, right? But that doesn't mean there's no room for improvement. Every city has room for improvement, right? What we need to really understand is what role do we want to play in the process, right? It's not out there. First, the desire and the passion and the purpose to make an impact starts within.
Mhm.
What role do we want to play in that process, right? And then more importantly, it's all about relationship building with the residents, relationship building with their businesses, within the council, right, within the staff, right? Because you don't get to understand the problems or the issues until you go deep, right?
Right.
There are periphery kind of issues that everyone wants to address, but it is really the fundamental issues that one has the opportunity to make an impact on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Running these campaigns, they're not free, and they take personal investment, but also investment from the community. Let's talk about some of the challenges that we're having in terms of, in general, when a person wants to run for a specific seat. How important is it that you get engagement from the community? That people who are high earners, especially in cities like Johns Creek, how they can get more personally involved and start helping with fundraising, or knocking on doors to ensure that you get the vote out.
Yeah, no, we mentioned earlier that, it's really time, knowledge, and financial resources, right?
Yeah.
That one has ability to contribute. Now, in my situation, I have dedicated my time and my knowledge and my financial resources, but it may not apply to everyone, right? Someone may have the time, but they're willing to come with you to do door knocking, which is very important, right? But may not have the financial resources to contribute. While there are others who are very busy because they're running their businesses and other kind of activities, they want to be part of a journey,
Yes.
especially if they believe that the person who is running for the office is the right person and it aligns with their philosophy and their methodologies of how impact can be made. Financial contribution is an important element, whether it's $25, $100, $2,000, because campaigns to get the message out are not cheap. At
Right.
the same time, it requires continuous involvement from people. And I've always believed that how do you engage people from a breadth perspective? right? So they feel like, hey, Shafiq is running. Yes, he's doing things, but how can I be part of his journey? If
Yeah.
I cannot make the time to go door knocking with him, what else can I do? All right. Can I contribute to his effort that may help him in marketing his message out there? Right. So financial contribution becomes important. And I know it's not easy to run for an office, right? It takes it takes effort, it takes thick skin, because when you are running for office, you are a public person, right?
Right.
Everything is fair game kind of thing, right? But it is okay for people who may not be able to do this, but still be involved in the campaign to contribute financially and help someone like Shafiq to be elected.
Yes.
So I try my best to reach out to people to make sure that, listen, I understand you may not be able to spend a lot of time and all that, but how about making a financial contribution? If you believe in me and my philosophy and my impact driven kind of purpose, then be part of the journey. It's a journey that includes everyone. It's not just me.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that we underestimate the value that financial contributions, take precedence within a campaign. This is how some people can also get a seat at the table. Is knowing that you have certain constituents, backers, whose philosophies that they believe in your philosophy, but you will also give them a listening ear, and you will take their considerations and the projects that they find important, to the table as well. So, it's not, you at the end of the day are just a representative of many people. And in that, financial contributions, people are able to make financial contributions who do have a voice but can't, don't have the time to express that voice, can't express it through their financial contribution to certain campaigns. And I think that's something that is not talked about often enough in our community. If we really do want to understand policy, power, influence, and decision making, financial contribution is at the heart of that. And so I think, it's really important for us to be able to vote with our dollar as well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, especially in our country, we are a capitalistic country, right? We speak from our mouth, but we also speak from our wallet,
Yes,
right? There have been decisions made in this country where certain things have happened, and consumers have said, you know what? I'm going to speak with my wallet, and I'm
exactly.
not going to buy your products. And before you know, decision making changes, right? So it's important to make sure you understand the value of your investment. I look at contributions towards campaigns and that as an investment. And when you are, all of us have been bright enough to do calculated investments and all that. When you invest in something, it's not overnight return, right? But you know that that investment is not, it's going to pay off. How is it going to pay off? It's going to help make the community better. It's going to help fulfill the kind of vision or mission or policies that you want to see things happen if you align yourself with the right candidates.
Mhm.
More importantly, if you have contributors and they have 2 years go by and all of a sudden there's an issue that
Yeah.
comes up, don't you think I'm going to be getting that call from them? Because they're like, listen, this is my concern, right?
Yep.
And it is my obligation. And it's not just because they are contributing, but I am responsible to be able to hear people's concerns. But because of their involvement with my campaign, they have a direct line with me,
Right.
right? And they can certainly voice their concern, and just like anyone else. But at the end of the day, they have my telephone number, right? And they have the access to voice their concerns and their desires for improvements, whether it's related to their businesses, whether it's related to betterment of the community, whether it's related to the youth. So I think we just need to be smart about, we need to look at long term
Hmm.
kind of return, right?
Yes.
Because the contributions that are made to campaign ultimately help the candidate get elected, and then more importantly, help the candidate feel confident, all right, that I have a constituents who got my back.
Yes. And that's the important part is you had mentioned the longevity of this. This is something that a person that gets into politics is not typically someone that just goes in for one term and that they're done, right? Oftentimes, Salman Bojani, for example, comes on the
Yeah.
show. He started off in the same exact position as you're in, Shafiq, and that's starting at the city council level. He became the mayor pro tem of Euless, then moved into a district position with the House of Representatives. Now he's representing the state of Texas in District 92. So, it's amazing how just a little bit of confidence, a little bit of contribution goes such a long way. And he's done so much incredible work for the community. I see the same exact potential in your candidacy and in this position for you. How do you see, your, I guess, your political career kind of moving forward, using this as kind of a springboard?
So first of all, I know Salman very well. He's a very good friend. We have served on boards together. So I still remember the first time he was running for office in Euless, Texas. Um, I don't think everyone just thinks that they are going to be a politician, right?
Right.
I never thought I would be running for office, to be very honest with you. All right. It just it's been an evolution of my involvement,
Mhm.
right? Where I've been able to sit on boards, get to know the city, and now I want a seat at the table. Why? Because I want to make bigger decisions,
Yes.
all right, that will improve the city's activities from a holistic perspective, right? So I think we need to accept one thing. If we want to make an impact, we have to have a seat at the table,
Yes.
right? That decision to go down that path will happen if the experience factor is there, where we start to feel a little comfortable that, hey, I have started to build relationships, I've gotten to know little things and all that. Because it's just like the saying goes, you can't just swim in the ocean first, you got to
Right.
swim in the pool, right?
Right. Right.
So get good at swimming in the pool. So when you swim, because people will tell you when they see you swimming in the pool and you're good swimming in the pool, they'll say, hey, how about swimming in the ocean?
Right.
So that's exactly what happened with me. I never thought I would be going down this path, but people have asked me, you do so many things in Johns Creek. Why not have a seat at the table and help Johns Creek make, better decisions and bigger decisions and all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a beautiful way of kind of moving forward that started from a place of I really care about this community. I care about the people in this community, and it's a diverse group of people. But it is an entire community that has different ideas, different walks of life, different careers, different ways of contributing. And to be able to put that lens on changes the focus of civic engagement for everybody. I think this is something that is so important and goes by unnoticed. We just we complain about these global things that are happening because we think that at our local level that we do feel safe, we do have access to education, clean water, so on and so forth. And maybe there's a couple of potholes that we hit every day that we don't like in our city, but it's not enough to make that decision. To be able to actually care about the people in your city, in your country, in your state, that is the chasm that we have yet to cross as a community. And I think that we need to start focusing in on this at a much deeper level. It's not just going in and volunteering in our day-to-day institutions, but it is going into a greater realm of what does it mean to be a citizen of my city, my state, my country. And I think that is something that we just haven't really focused on as a community as much.
And I think we have a long way to go. And
Yeah.
I hope that Salman's journey, Afshi's journey, other people's journey in state of Texas, and my journey here in Atlanta will empower the
Yes.
next set of people to say, you know what, if these guys can do it, why not me? Right.
Right.
But at the same time, I do believe that we need to be owners of the cities that we live in.
Beautiful.
Unless we create that ownership concept where we say, everything that happens in the city is my city and I am also involved in it and I can influence things,
Yeah.
that's the only way it's going to happen. So I hope and pray not only for our young youth, adults and all that, but I'll also listen. I am blessed to be a father of a 28-year old, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope one day she runs for office and all that, right? And she's actually my communication person in this campaign,
Oh,
right?
that's awesome. Yeah.
Because she comes from that background. She has been involved in politics and all that. But I just think we need to be a little broader in our definition of my community.
Yes, I completely agree. Shafiq, how do people get more involved directly into your campaign?
So there is a website called Shafiq, SHAFIQ, number four, Johns Creek, and Johns Creek is JOHNS Creek.com. Shafiq for johnscreek.com. There's a website there. People can learn more about what I've been doing over the last 10 years, what my priorities are for this particular campaign and the cycle that I'm involved in. And there's also a donate button, right? That people can, and again, donations don't necessarily need to be from residents from Johns Creek or Georgia.
Right.
I've been blessed to have relationships outside of the state of Georgia where people have donated. So that's a way that people can get involved, and it would be very much appreciated because, as we discussed, every involvement counts.
Yes, every dollar counts, every involvement counts. You vote with your dollars as well, right? And you had
Yes.
mentioned it before, it's so easy to boycott, certain companies that are not philosophically aligned. But it's also important to donate to causes that are aligned, and
Yeah.
to be able to, empower members of our communities to have a seat at the table, to have that position, to bring that knowledge back to the community. Those things are extremely important, and I think that they go to the wayside oftentimes, and we don't really understand the power of that donate button, right?
Yeah, agreed, agreed. And think of
Honor
it
it.
as an investment, right? Think of it as an investment in someone's future and
Yeah,
your future, right?
absolutely.
That can make a long-lasting impact. So again, my urge to anyone and everyone is get civically engaged.
Yes.
Get engaged at the local level first, right? It may sound strange in the beginning, or may feel strange in the beginning, showing up at city council meetings and making public comments and all that. But after a while, it becomes natural,
Yes.
right? And then just continue to go down that path. As you build relationships, those relationships will empower you. I promise you. All right.
And I think one thing that people underestimate, you're right. It is very awkward in the beginning. It's like starting your first day at school, but the communities that are involved and the people that are involved, it's a very tight knit group of people, no matter what city that you're in. When I went to the state capitol to support Salman's two bills, the how kind everybody was, because it is a group of people that at the end of the day they care about their communities,
Yeah.
and if you're showing up, you're showing that you care about the community. And so might be awkward in the beginning, but once you start getting to know people's names, you understand what their agendas are, you support certain people in certain ways, it becomes a kind of a fraternity, and it's a city within a city kind of thing, right? And
It is. It is.
yeah,
Yeah.
to have that level of ownership and influence and say, "You know what? That street light that just went up, I was involved in that." You know what I mean? And
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say that it took me 7 years showing up, for 4 years at city council meetings, making public comments to bring the sport of cricket in Johns Creek.
yeah,
Today, I'm proud to say, and because we built a park that has now full-size cricket field with lights, with batting cages. We have another park that has two cricket grounds with batting cages, scoreboards, and all that.
yeah,
I'm known as Mr. Cricket in Johns Creek, right? Which
that's
is
awesome.
a title that I very, very proudly, right?
Yeah.
But you know what my joy is? That Johns Creek now has become the only city in the United States to have 7 days of youth cricket in a public park.
Wow,
All
wow,
right.
wow.
So, yes, it took me time, right? But at the end of the day, when I go to those parks now, that's my joy. So,
Yes.
yes, showing up means a lot. I think the city council just got tired of me showing up over and over. And they probably said, you know what? How do we shut
Let
up
him
this
have,
guy?
yeah, let him have his little cricket thing. but it brings revenue for the community. It brings a certain sense of sport, of teamwork, of community together. It brings joy and diversity, and so it hits so many different aspects
Yeah.
of quality of life that is beyond just Parks and Rec. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's beyond. I'll give you an example. We do an annual Johns Creek Cricket Festival, which is a day-long program showcasing the sport and all that. But one of the matches we do youth match, girls match, high school match. So I know I'm a founder of Johns Creek Cricket Association that has right now 14 high schools playing in that. But in that annual Johns Creek Cricket Festival, we have a match between the Johns Creek Police Department and Johns Creek Fire Department.
Amazing.
All right. And they are not cricketers, but there's a bragging rights trophy that's sitting in the fire department. And every time I see the police chief, it's like, when are we going to do this again? I want that trophy.
I want that trophy back. Yeah.
Right. But the fact that they are involved means they also want to be community engagement
Exactly.
involvement. Right.
Exactly.
So I think, whatever passions we have in life, arts, culture, music, being able to have purpose and make decisions and all that, do not take that passion lightly. Channel that passion in civic engagement where you start to feel comfortable because you have that passion. And then you broaden up your scope. Then you get involved in other things. But start with what is it that drives you? All right. Get involved with that driven kind of purpose. And then as you get involved, people get to know you. I promise you will get more involved and build more relationships and absolutely have an impact. No.
Amazing. Amazing. Shafiq, you're such an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much for joining our show tonight. We wish you
Absolutely.
the best of luck. This is Shafiq Jadhavji. He is running for City Council Position 3 for the city of Johns Creek. Please go out, show up, vote. If you are not in the Johns Creek community and you want to donate, please donate with an open heart and know that it will go a long way.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining and
Absolutely, Sean. I appreciate you inviting me, and I hope whatever we talked about influences our listeners to step up to civic engagement at local level.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
All
Okay.
right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay tuned.